A24 is that company people bring up when they want to act like they know movies. I don't know how else to put it. Like, if you're on a date and you bring up that you're like a filmmaker, you're into movies, like, chances are the other person's going to be like, oh, you know A24? Yeah, they're really good. So I brought it down a notch. We're talking about my top 10 favorites from A24. I think it's a good time to talk about them because they have so many bangers already. There's so many honorable mentions that I'm just not going to mention because there's so many of them, and we're just going to hop straight into the list. And honestly, I'm already making a change. Jesus. I was about to talk about Good Time. You know, Good Time is great and all. I love it. It's a great movie. But I'm going to put this one here instead. I just love how sadistic this entire film is. It's just so damn dark, and the comedy works so damn well because of it. Like, when I think of dark comedy in movies in general, I often think about the scene where Colin Farrell goes to talk to the principal. Just one of the best uses of dark comedy ever. Then you got this kid, it's like, fuck this kid. He was in like every 2017 movie and American Animals. Like, he just shows up all the time, but put him in more movies, Hollywood. Hey, if I make a movie one day, Barry, I'm hitting your line for sure. I mean, the roulette scene, come on. Like, one of the most memorable scenes in any movie of the past 10 years, for sure. It gives me a lot of Funny Games vibes, and Funny Games is easily one of my favorite movies ever. It's hard to say favorite movies, but it's the best horror movie I've ever seen, and this film just kind of feels like a nice companion piece to that movie. It's a controversial pick for a top 10 of A24, I know, but it is my favorite film from Yorgos so far.
Well, one more week of 8th grade, huh?
I said one more week of 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, huh?
I mean, that song was played by my fucking 8th grade teacher anytime we had to take a test. So yeah, I found 8th grade very fucking relatable to me. I even won the quietest award in 8th grade. Like, come on, this movie was meant for me. Now I'm someone on YouTube that can't shut the fuck up. I think you couldn't ask for a better performance from a young actress than the one Elsie Fisher gives in this movie. For sure. She absolutely destroys this role. She not only nails the relatability factor that comes with growing up, but she also makes this coming of age movie take like a more horror approach. Like, I know Bo Burnham has a lot to do with that too, but the way she performs just gives that vibe off the whole time. The use of teenagers growing up in a world of social media and YouTube is handled brilliantly. I mean, they have the chicken nugget kid in this movie. Come on, you gotta love the chicken nugget kid. I really hope this isn't the last we see of Bo Burnham directing films, because he absolutely knocked it out of the park on this one.
Are you lying to me?
Still one of Denis Villeneuve's best outings, in my opinion, and that's coming from a guy that made every single banging movie of the 2010s. It does have a special place in my heart, honestly, just because it's one of the first movies that made me want to go online and talk about a movie with so many other people, because Enemy it made you have a conversation as soon as it ended, which I really loved, and it was something new to me at the time. It was just so weird and out there, especially for a guy who was coming off of Prisoners, which was definitely one of my favorite movies of the previous year at the time, but it was just such a different realm of fiction storytelling. Jake Gyllenhaal is great as both of his characters. The whole color grade and look of the film is great. The spiders are nightmare fuel. What more could you fucking ask for, man? It's honestly been a while since I've sat through this movie, but it's just so burned into my mind that when I was making this list, I couldn't not include it. Like, it's just such a staple of when I was really getting into filmmaking. And if you haven't seen it yet, you're in for a fucking ride.
Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not rude. It doesn't boast. Love also forgets wrong.
So many moments in this movie, I mean, that'll stay with me forever. A soundtrack that's just so, like, methodically, I think is I never use the word methodically, but the soundtrack of this movie is just so smart. Oh, it's so smart. I sound like I'm talking to my girlfriend. Just like, oh, you're so cute. Incredible performances from every single member of the family. The cinematography just encapsulates every single thing that I want the style of my future films to take on. It's beautifully shot. Some true like Lubezki inspired shit, but man, it's beautiful to look at. It's just a banger. Just like Enemy, you shouldn't really know too much going in if you don't know anything about Waves. Just know it's definitely a different type of coming of age movie. And now that we got all the weirder A24 picks out of the way, let's start counting down those really basic A24 picks.
You should just go to City College. You know, with your work ethic, just go to City College and then to jail, and then back to City College, and then maybe you'd learn to pull yourself up and not expect everybody to do everything.
I grew up in Catholic school, so realizing that Lady Bird is the only movie I've seen that truly encapsulates what it's like to go to a Catholic school is really refreshing to see. My favorite movie is Dazed and Confused, and there's parts of Lady Bird that remind me of Dazed and Confused in terms of the characters. Like, every character here, even though they're so different from each other, and even though they're not all particularly likable, Greta Gerwig still finds a way to make them all likable. They all feel like real people. The dialogue feels just so tightly written in the best way. The dynamics between mother and daughter they'll hit you, man. I mean, this is Film Twitter's favorite movie for a reason, I think. I mean, Lady Bird is just, how could you dislike this movie? And the fucking ending, yo. Like, oh my god, the conversation, obviously it's great. But that mixed with the score, I think, what's the track called? It's called like Reconcile or something, I think. It's on my Spotify screenwriting playlist, don't worry. I mean, you've seen Lady Bird. You love Lady Bird. Why am I still talking about Lady Bird? You know it deserves to be in any top 10 A24 list, for sure.
What you looking at me like that for? What, man? Come on, you just drove down here? Yeah.
Same thing. It's like, does anybody dislike Moonlight? Anybody? No, exactly. Just a fantastic film. One of the best picture winners we've gotten in recent memory, honestly. And I think the thing that sticks to me most about Moonlight, even though I love pretty much every single thing about it, is the use of color and the cinematography is just absolutely breathtaking here. Off the top of my head, it's the best looking film of the 2010s still. And I mean, Barry Jenkins, he threw a T-ball up to himself, knocked it out of the fucking park, because this is his second feature film. Are you fucking kidding me? It's a film that it feels like it could have been its own trilogy if he really wanted to expand each story. Yet in a way, I'm still kind of glad he gave us the shortened version. And I'm not smart enough to talk about Moonlight, I don't think. It's great, obviously.
Boo! There you are. Boo!
Banger! Oh my god, I love The Witch is one of those movies, I saw it in theaters, and it kind of changed my life. Like, I was so jealous. Maybe jealous isn't the right... I mean, it's kind of jealous. Envious, they're basically the same thing. That somebody can make something this good of a horror movie, because in a way that inspires me, like, okay, I gotta step up my game one day if I'm gonna make anything relatively close to The Witch. I remember talking to my friend Austin years ago, and he said what works about The Witch is it feels like a short story that you'd have to read in your honors literature class in 10th grade, but you didn't read it. So then when you get older a little bit and you're more mature, you know, you talk about all these stories you're supposed to read, and someone goes, yeah, you haven't read The Witch? You gotta read The Witch. It's a staple of American literature. And then you go and you appreciate The Witch. That's what this fucking movie is, man. Robert Eggers' attention to detail and making the language authentic and the world authentic, that in itself is an achievement. Like, this movie, even on the first time, there were a couple things that I didn't really catch because, like, the dialogue was so specific to the world, and just the use of color and horror and camera movement here. The one scene that actually, you know, spoiler alert, I guess, for a movie you've probably seen by now. And if you haven't seen it, it's because you're refusing to be scared shitless. The scene where you actually see the witch done. Like, I have nightmares about that shit every like 7 days, alright? One of the best horror movies ever made. One of the best movies, period, of the century, in my opinion. The Lighthouse isn't on this list. I think The Lighthouse, it's okay. I didn't say overrated. That would have gotten even more hate. But I am stoked for Robert Eggers' new Viking movie. I just read a little interview they did with some of the actors. Oh, his Viking movie's gonna be fucking sick.
It's like another world. Tomorrow's a big day.
Is it scary?
I didn't know you can make a horror movie a comfort movie, but that's the magic of Ari Aster, I guess. It's probably not a comfort movie. I don't want you to think I'm a fucking serial killer. There's something so interesting, though, about making a film so stuck in daytime. And I know this isn't the first movie to do it, obviously. It's not even the first, like, good folklore movie. I love The Wicker Man. But I think Ari Aster has made the staple. You know, he's made the 2001 of folklore movies with Midsommar. I really do. It looks so beautiful. It looks so tempting, like the people in the movie trying to bring you in. And it's just such a fucking nightmare, man. But the fact that Midsommar is so good, yet this one is even better.
I know my mom would be very touched and probably a little suspicious. My mother was a very secretive and private woman.
I talk about Hereditary a lot. I think Hereditary is a perfect film. And I know there's people that say, you know, perfect movies, they don't exist. They do. There's just very few. There's like maybe 10 in the entire history of cinema. It's not one of my favorite movies. It is one of my favorite movies. But it's like, you know, it's... Why would you want to say Going to Hell again is one of your favorite things? You don't like doing it, but you understand it's perfect the way it is. Every single detail in this movie is fucking stunning. Like, there were things I caught on the first time that many of my friends didn't see until the third time, and I thought I was smart. And then I watched it a third time, and I noticed other things I never noticed before. I was like, oh shit, nah, I'm dumb. And then every once in a while, if I'm gonna watch a video on YouTube, it's probably like things Ari Aster hid in Hereditary. And just some of the details in there, I was like, this guy's a fucking madman, and I gotta buy him a beer someday. Single-handedly the best horror movie, I'm gonna say, ever made. It's between that and Funny Games for me as like the best, and then The Shining's probably number 3. But damn, Hereditary is one of those rare movies that, like, even though I thought it was a masterpiece the second I saw it, it somehow gets even better every time I think about it. Every time I talk about it, I'm like, Hereditary is probably the best movie I've ever fucking seen. And if Hereditary wasn't really your thing, if you're scarred for life, I understand. Don't have to sit through it again. But if you're someone that thought, like, yeah, Hereditary, you know, I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. If you're one of those people for some fucking reason, really just look into some of the, like, analysis videos that go into the details that Ari Aster put in the background, and then watch the movie again. And you'll be lying to yourself in denial if you can't argue that Hereditary is just a masterpiece. It's unbelievable. The only reason I'm putting this movie above it is because of personal fucking bias.
Yo, Stevie fucking insane.
I don't know, man. Sometimes you watch a movie and it's just the most relatable thing to you. For better or for worse, I was every single kid in this movie at one different point in my life. But I've never seen a film really encapsulate certain aspects of my life like mid-90s did. The soundtrack's banging, of course. It has a really cool look to it. But that's not why I like movies necessarily. I mean, all those aspects that go into a movie obviously have an effect. You know, I just talked about why Hereditary is technically perfect. But mid-90s, just like, it's what watching movies is about, man. It's about finding your favorite that you connect with personally, and you don't even give a shit if anyone would put it in their top 10 A24 movies list. It's one I revisit every once in a while, and you know what? I might just have to revisit again today, because I haven't watched it in a while, and I feel the need to go back home with my boys. Hereditary, I can convince you why it's the best A24 movie. Mid-90s, I can't really, you know, it's just I can convince me and convince you that's the best Chilling with Chase is the name of the YouTube channel, movie I've possibly ever seen. It's not my favorite movie ever, but it's pretty damn close. And yeah, I don't want to cry. I don't want to get emotional. But mid-90s, man. But I want to hear from you. I want to know what your favorite A24 movie is down below. Rank all of them if you really want to. Be ambitious with it. What's your top 3? What's your favorite? What's your top 5? What's your top 25? What's your top 10? What's your least favorite A24 movie of all time? And you let me know what you're thinking. I still don't really have an outro. Sometimes I do. I'll catch you next time, but I don't know if I like that. I'll catch you next time.